My stepdaughter screamed I was just a walking wallet, and my fiancé agreed. I cut off every card, refused to be their ATM, and finally walked away from the family they tried to trap me in. I didn't think a single sentence could flip my entire life upside down, but it did. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I just walked into the living room with the brochures from the dealership because my fiancé had been hinting, no, pushing, for weeks about getting her daughter a car for her 17th birthday. Not a used one, not something reasonable, a brand new crossover SUV. I'd already told them no, politely, calmly, repeatedly. But that day, as I explained again that a car that expensive wasn't happening, her daughter, Emily, snapped her head toward me, eyes full of entitlement that didn't match her age or her accomplishments, and screamed, "You're just a walking wallet." The words hit harder than she probably intended. But what destroyed me wasn't even the outburst. It was my fiancé's reaction. She didn't flinch. She didn't scold. She didn't even look embarrassed. She just smirked, lifted her coffee cup, and said, almost proudly, "She's not wrong." Those 3 words sliced deeper than anything her daughter could have said. Not wrong, meaning she agreed, meaning she saw me as nothing more than a provider, someone to fund their lifestyle, comfort, and upgrades. I stared at them both. Emily scrolling her phone like nothing happened. My fiancé watching me with that smug, satisfied expression, like she expected me to just swallow it. Like this was my designated role. Their arrogance lit something cold inside me. I walked to my office, logged into the bank, and with a few taps, every supplementary card I'd given them, every single one attached to my accounts, was revoked. Then I walked back into the living room, stood in front of them, and said, "Wallet lost." They blinked, confused. I let the silence stretch. Then I added, calm as ice, "If you need money, go find a job." The look on their faces? Priceless. But that moment was only the beginning. Because just hours later, I found something that made everything worse. Something that made me question the entire relationship and whether I'd ever actually been loved at all. After I cut the cards, the house felt different. Not quieter, just honest for the first time. The fake politeness, the sugary tone my fiancée used whenever she wanted something. It all disappeared instantly. What was left was the real dynamic they'd been hiding. Entitlement, resentment, and a belief that I existed to financially grease the gears of their lives. Emily went into full meltdown mode, screaming, slamming doors, stomping down the hallway like a spoiled toddler trapped in a teenager's body. I ignored all of it. I'd spent 2 years trying to play the calm, patient role her biological dad never bothered with. But that Sunday I realized something chilling. I'd been parenting someone who didn't even see me as a human being. My fiancée didn't shout, didn't throw things, didn't break down. No, she tried something worse. She tried to manipulate. She walked into the kitchen where I was making tea, leaned against the counter with her arms crossed, and said with this soft, patronizing tone, "Baby, you're taking this too seriously. She's just a kid." She didn't mean it. I didn't say anything. I just watched her talk. That's when she switched tactics. Her eyes narrowed, and she added, "And honestly, if you want to be in this family, you can't react every time a teenager gets emotional. You know how much I appreciate everything you do for us. Don't ruin what we have over a misunderstanding." Translation: get over it and keep paying. But the thing about removing someone's access to your money is this: it forces them to speak in their real voice. She reached for my arm like she wanted to comfort me, but her fingers hesitated the moment she realized I wasn't giving her the usual apologetic reaction. Instead of melting or giving in, I simply said, "I'm not your ATM." She froze, and for the first time, I saw it on her face, actual panic. She asked what that meant. She asked why I was being dramatic. She asked why I was ruining the mood. She asked why I was making things difficult. She asked everything, except the one thing she should have asked. How do we fix this together? Because she wasn't interested in fixing us. She was interested in fixing her access to my bank account. She followed me from room to room all afternoon, alternating between guilt trips, fake tears, and snapping at Emily to watch her tone, as if that erased the last 2 years of enabling. But by evening, I'd stopped listening completely. I went to the bedroom to get some space. That's when I saw her phone lighting up on the nightstand. Normally, I never look. I've never been that guy. But a preview flashed across the top. Did he cancel the cards? Then another. I told you he wouldn't buy it. Now what? Then, Don't worry, he'll cave. He always does. My stomach dropped. These weren't from any friend I recognized. The contact name was saved as S. That initial had shown up before. Random late-night texts, quiet notifications she'd clear before I could glance over. I always trusted her because trust is what holds a relationship together. But that trust evaporated the moment the next message popped up. Just push him again tomorrow. Tell him Emily deserves it because she's his responsibility now. He's too attached to say no. I felt sick, like something was crawling under my skin. This wasn't an isolated conversation. This was a strategy, a coordinated plan to squeeze money out of me. Using guilt, using her daughter, using the relationship itself. And then the worst one came in. If he still refuses, we can start looking at other options. You know the backup plan. Backup plan. Other options. Someone talking about my fiancée like she belonged to them. My hands were shaking, not from rage, but from clarity. A clarity I'd been avoiding for too long. This wasn't a family. This wasn't a partnership. This wasn't love. It was a transaction I hadn't known I was participating in. I didn't wake her. I didn't start a fight. I didn't confront her. I just sat there in the dim light of the bedroom, listening to the faint echo of Emily's earlier outburst in my head. You're just a walking wallet. Maybe for the first time ever, I actually believed her. And that belief changed everything. Update that I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. Anger would have been easier. What kept me awake was the unmistakable sense that I'd been living with strangers. Two people who smiled at me across the dinner table, called me supportive, called me family, while plotting how to drain me dry the moment I let my guard down. Around 4 a.m., I finally picked up her phone again. I knew the passcode. She'd told me months ago, back when we were still pretending to trust each other. I typed it in, feeling both guilty and justified, like someone checking a locked room in their own house. The message thread with S went back 8 months. It started small, complaints, frustrations, gossip. But then the tone shifted, slowly, almost invisibly at first. S, you deserve more than what he gives you. S, if he really loved you, he'd try harder. S, you're carrying you and your daughter alone. Make him pull his weight. At first, she disagreed. Then she explained. Then she softened. Then she stopped resisting. And then, sometime around spring, the conversation turned into a partnership built entirely around me. What I paid for, what I didn't, where boundaries could be pushed, how much emotional pressure I'd tolerate. S, just tell him Emily needs it for school. He won't say no to anything related to her. Make it about being a real father. Her, I think you're right. He hates disappointing her. S, exactly. You want that car? Tie it to her development. He'll fold. Then I got to the voice notes. Long, whispered ones she clearly recorded late at night in the bathroom, talking about me like I was nothing more than a malfunctioning appliance. He's generous, but sometimes he needs a push. He overthinks everything. Just pressure him more. He's not the type to argue. He'll give in eventually. I played one twice, because the second half didn't make sense the first time. And if it really doesn't work, well, you can always come here. You know that. You and Emily. I'll take care of you both. You won't have to pretend with him anymore. I froze. This wasn't a friend. This wasn't some casual influence. This was someone actively positioning himself as the replacement, financially, emotionally, even physically. And she wasn't shutting it down. Then I found the photos. Not explicit ones. Worse ones. Pictures of restaurants. Her side of the table. Pictures of drinks. 2 glasses. Pictures of car dashboards at night. Not mine. Pictures of her outfits. Captioned, "Does this look good for tonight?" And he'd answer, "Perfect." He won't suspect anything. There was one more folder. It took me a second to understand it. Screenshots of my bank account balances, of receipts from dinners I'd paid for, of Amazon orders I didn't remember approving, of text messages I had sent, kind, trusting, understanding. She was forwarding all of it to S, documenting how far I was willing to go, proof that I was useful, proof that I would always cave. My stomach dropped so hard I had to sit down. This wasn't manipulation. This wasn't entitlement. This was exploitation. And I was the product. I put her phone exactly where I found it. Not out of politeness, out of decision. A very careful, deliberate decision. When she woke up around 7 a.m., she acted like everything was normal. She kissed my cheek, stretched, asked what I wanted for breakfast. Emily stormed around the house complaining about Wi-Fi not being paid. That, apparently, was her top priority. Neither of them sensed anything. People rarely notice when the wallet grows quiet. They only notice when it closes. That afternoon, while they were out shopping with cash they found in a kitchen jar, I sat at my desk and made several phone calls. Calm, precise, calculated calls. I called the bank. I called my lawyer. I called the leasing office. I called my accountant. Then I opened my laptop and started drafting a document I never thought I'd need. A list of everything I had been paying for over the last 2 years. Rent, utilities, groceries, clothes, school supplies, summer courses, medicine, shoes, taxis, concert tickets, vacations, repairs, restaurants, birthdays, 1,000 little things that added up to the life they enjoyed. I didn't write it out of spite. I wrote it because I wanted to see, in black and white, the thing I had refused to admit. They weren't losing a partner. They were losing a provider. And I was finally ready to stop being one. Final update. The day I decided to act, everything felt surreal. I didn't storm the house. I didn't yell. I didn't confront them in front of anyone. I simply moved with precision. I first revoked every last online permission she had. Subscriptions, apps, even streaming services. Every card that could touch my accounts, gone. Then I drafted a concise, undeniable statement. Effective immediately, you have no access to my accounts. You have no claim to my property. You are no longer entitled to financial support of any kind. You are free to seek your own resources. Any attempt to circumvent this will be treated legally. I printed 2 copies. One I placed in an envelope on the kitchen counter. The other I scanned, emailed to my lawyer, and filed in a secure folder, complete with the screenshots, the voice notes, the photos, and the messages with S. Then I waited, patiently, quietly, watching them go about their day as if nothing had changed. It wasn't long. Emily tried to swipe her card at a gas station. Declined. She came home, furious, screaming, demanding explanations, trying to pin guilt on me. My fiancé barged in, trying to mediate, trying to reason, trying to gaslight. I listened. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I let them speak their chaos while I calmly sipped my coffee. And then I said, slowly, deliberately, this is the life you chose. Go live it. I am done being your bank, your problem solver, or your safety net. From this moment forward, every choice is yours, and every consequence too. They froze. For the first time, the house was silent, not quiet, but tense. A tension thick enough to feel in my chest. Her fiancé's smirk faltered. Emily's anger turned to panic. Neither could spin a story fast enough to regain control. I left. Not dramatically, not vengefully. I just walked out, calmly, with my laptop, my phone, and my dignity intact. Locked the door behind me. Changed the locks later that evening. And for the first time in years, I felt relief. Not happiness, not triumph, just relief. Relief from manipulation, entitlement, and a relationship that had been built entirely on my tolerance and resources rather than respect or love. Weeks later, I learned what happened next without having to be involved. Her friends tried to confront me online, but I ignored them. Vanished after realizing I wasn't a pawn in their scheme. Emily's whining turned into grudging responsibility. She had to figure out how to live in a world where no one would pay for her choices. My fiancé, she reached out once, claiming she wanted to talk and fix things. I didn't respond, not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to fix. Life after that became quieter, calmer, healthier. I started running again, exercising, reading, rebuilding routines that had been swallowed by 2 years of managing other people's greed and entitlement. I reconnected with friends I'd lost, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen, respected, and safe. I learned something important. Love is not sacrifice at the expense of your dignity. Love is not endless tolerance for lies and manipulation. And sometimes, the hardest act of love, for yourself, is walking away completely. And when I finally looked back, months later, I realized I hadn't lost a family. I had escaped a trap. And that realization, cold, quiet, and unstoppable, felt better than any car, any gift, or any illusion of happiness they had ever imagined I'd provide.